CKON and the rest of the Seaway Valley. Good morning and welcome to a live edition of CKON Wednesday to Tetewatharen. My name is Reen Cook, and we remind you views and opinions expressed by our guests and our callers during Tetewatharen, not necessarily those of 97.3 CKON or the Akwesasne Communication Society. Our phone lines are open at 518-358-3427, 613-575-2101. And we are looking forward to an interesting program today as we learn about the Saint Regis Mohawk Tribe and also the Legal Aid Society of Northeastern New York project that was launched and talked about at the September 2021 monthly tribal meeting. So they presented information, and right off the bat, we want to make sure that everybody knows that the legal aid services are independent of the tribe's legal department. However, when you are going to be accessing these legal aid services, we will have some hours and days of availability inside the tribal building. So they're making room for him office-wise for when he's going to be there for the certain days or certain hours of the week. So we'd like to welcome one guest to the program, and you're familiar with him here in Akwesasne with regards to anything having to do with legal issues, the court. He spent a lot of years in our tribal court as well, and outside dealing with just attorney issues, as we welcome attorney PJ Herne to the program and talking about the Legal Aid Society of Northeastern New York project with the Saint Regis Mohawk Tribe. CKON, welcome PJ Herne. How are you, Peach?
Good morning, Reen. Pretty good. Thank you to CKON as usual for hosting us.
Yep. Now we have a lot of information to cover with regards to what services are going to be available for Akwesasne. And also one of the big things that we're going to be covering is what is not able to be covered through this project. And of course, the most important part, what is. So as we look to break everything down and explain things to the community, you made a presentation at the September Tribal Monthly Meeting in introducing this project and providing information. So we're going to cover a lot of that that you started off with back in September and continue from there. So let's get started. Attorney PJ Herne.
Thanks, Reen. Yeah, when we presented in September, that was probably the end product of a project that got started during the pandemic. I started with legal aid back in 2019. And at that time had proposed doing a project where we could offer services here in Akwesasne to help low-income people. And we were able to keep that conversation going with the general counsel's office, and we're finally able to kind of launch the project around September and present it at the monthly meeting. I think one of the things we wanted to stress was that I am still a Legal Aid Society of Northeastern New York employee, so I don't work for the tribe. They have been gracious enough to offer us office hours there at the tribe. And so those listeners that are and watchers, I guess, that are interested, our office hours at the tribe are usually Thursday and Friday during the daytime hours, usually from 9 to about 3:30, depending on, if I have to be somewhere else. So on Thursday and Friday, we're over there. I'm pretty sure Brendan will be posting, I think, in the tribe's Facebook page and other social media as well, both my contact number, which is 518-728-8277, as well as my email contact. I try to advise a lot of people to email me because that's usually the most surefire way to get a hold of me, because never know if I'm in court or in meetings in order to call, but definitely send an email if you can. I've had other people also message me through Facebook, so I've been able to do that. When we launched the project and made the presentation, obviously the big question is, well, what can we do and what don't we do? I think that's really related to the question of easier to answer in this manner is what we don't do. And generally at Legal Aid, we do not do cases where if the person is already afforded legal counsel. So that generally is your criminal matters and numerous family court matters where legal counsel in most instances will be provided to the individual. So we step in to meet a lot of unmet civil legal needs, and this can be everything from debt collection, landlord-tenant law, foreclosure work. We do some public benefits work. We also do Medicaid, Medicare work regarding coverage issues and denial of coverage. Obviously, as you can imagine, we've been quite busy during the pandemic with a lot of those issues. And this time of year, which something hopefully we'll talk to a little bit more in the show here, right now really ramping up is tax work and actually helping low income people file their taxes and try to answer questions for them as they proceed in filing the taxes. So basically, that's an overview of kind of what we do. Legal aid itself is we are probably one of the oldest legal aid societies in New York. We actually, our offices serve 16 counties, going all the way up north here down to Albany. Our staff is headquartered actually in Albany. We have offices in Saratoga, Amsterdam, Plattsburgh, as well as the Canton office where I work out of. And so with that, we have probably a staff of 100, at least, I would say north of 60 attorneys working within legal aid. And so one of the good things about that is it puts us into contacts with various attorneys that actually do work in specialized areas. We have a number of attorneys that do Social Security. We have a number of attorneys that do foreclosure. We have a number of attorneys that can help with debt collection. Right now, we're very fortunate. We have a low income taxpayer clinic that we've been able to work with. Since launching in September, we have been able to help people. Our number count kind of slowly going up. And as you know, with the holiday season, it does get slow, but we have been able to assist a number of individuals here in Akwesasne already. And those issues have been varied and wide. I mean, when we first started the project and we were talking to the council about it, we were kind of guessing what kind of cases would come in. And even at that time, with my experience, I did not want to venture a guess. And sure enough, I mean, what we've seen so far, it's been a pretty wide variety of cases. And, hopefully we've been here to help them on some matters, get them information and kind of go from there.
Again, we're talking with attorney PJ Herne, and we're talking about the project that brings legal aid services to Akwesasne. And it's a joint effort between the Legal Aid Society of Northeastern New York and also the Saint Regis Mohawk Tribe. And I do have a question, PJ, with regards to the Senior Center in Hogansburg. They have someone that comes in for legal aid services. Is this separate from that?
That person is actually one of the staff members from our office. It's one of our senior paralegals, Miss Linda LaRue. She does a lot of will writing over there. Interestingly, there is some parameters to that grant she works under. So we can actually assist with will writing if you don't meet the parameters of Linda's program. And I've actually done that a couple of times now for individuals who wanted to call and, they were requesting something different that Linda might not be able to do. So yeah, we kind of work in conjunction with her, obviously. And so that we're hopeful will continue. But yeah, definitely an associated program of ours.
All right. So you do help with creating wills or enacting them and things like that. Let's ask about that as we continue. So PJ, with regards to a will, how long of a process is that? And what would we need to bring on our first appointment with you?
I've been able to, most of the time, and when I talk with individuals, the more paperwork you bring and the more kind of assets that you're aware of, we can begin there, because I kind of look at it and it tends to work out this way as more as a multiple counseling sessions and to see what the individual would like to do. Obviously, there's concerns if you have assets located off Akwesasne versus if all your assets are located in Akwesasne and how that could play out, after your passing. A lot of issues that people sometimes are aware of and unaware of, where you might maintain your banking is going to play a big role, and we'll try to counsel you through that. The differences between, your residency and where your bank accounts might be and what happens after your passing and how that would be resolved. Some issues actually take care of themselves. People sometimes will want to include perhaps an annuity or a retirement account or life insurance, but those are all contract issues. Those wouldn't even be touched by your will, because who you name as a beneficiary, those are automatically going to go to those beneficiaries. So if you want those changed in any ways, you have to do that while you're alive in order to avoid any issues in the future. So, and then once we kind of talk about a lot of those issues, we'll actually start working on a draft and we'll try to share that draft with a person to see if it's, consistent with, our meetings. And then at some point, we'll get to what's called the actual execution of the will. Under the tribe's law, there is witnesses that are required. So there can be some, a little bit of schedule juggling that needs to occur, to get the witnesses lined up and sign the will. And we usually provide multiple copies. I don't even want to say copies. I talked to individuals about this. We can provide you more than one original. We just need the signing to occur all at the same time. And during that process, we can also, we've had people, request, and we've been able to provide them powers of attorney as well as medical proxies that can be handled at the same time.
All right. Do you need to be a tribal member to access the services that are offered through this project, PJ?
Primarily for here in Akwesasne, yes. And one of the interesting aspects about the project, and the tribe was clear when, we started the meetings, is that this is available to all of Akwesasne. So it's not just the southern portion. So anybody from Akwesasne can actually come in and at least get what we call it advice and counsel services. And that would be irrespective of income. If the person is not from Akwesasne and you're not a resident, we would probably advise you to contact our normal intake numbers in our Canton office. That number, let me look real quick, make sure is 315-386-4586, and that'll get you in touch with our Canton office and you can do an intake there. Otherwise, if you're from Akwesasne, I mean, it's an advice and counsel that's free, no matter of your income, your location within Akwesasne, and then we can kind of go from there.
Okay. Now, PJ, another question about wills, if people are looking to prepare those. What if you have property, say, or assets in Canada, say on the northern portion of the community, and you also have assets or property on the southern portion of the community? Would one will cover all of that, or would they have to file one on the southern portion and file one on the northern portion?
I think that would be a choice to the individual, because I know, and this is just from experience from being in Akwesasne, there can be a lot of technical issues that people should be aware of. There is a difference if you were on the northern portion in the Quebec portions, which would be Saint Regis and SNY, regarding some of your property and your bank accounts and what's required after your passing, versus Ontario. And also depends obviously on your enrollment and falling within MCA's program of settling estates and probate that they must comply with. Whereas in this, on the southern portion in Akwesasne, they're fortunate now they have, our own tribal court and our own probate code. You could literally write a will, under that law, which we follow when we advise people if, that's what it should be, and execute the will that way. And again, it gets even trickier when you have assets outside of Akwesasne, but you reside in one of those portions. In the most technical sense, but this can get expensive, is you can write one will, but then you'd be forced to run around to try to get that will recognized wherever the assets are located. And that's something we counsel people on all the time when looking at these issues.
So in order to see you, PJ, again, PJ Herne, attorney at law, will be available on Thursdays and Fridays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And there's office space that he's utilizing that the Saint Regis Mohawk Tribe has offered for this project. So it's convenient for people. We don't have to go to Canton to do it. You can do it right here in Akwesasne. So we need to make an appointment to do that, PJ. And how far in advance would you recommend people call to make that appointment?
Right now, it's actually been pretty workable. So, I mean, you can hopefully email me or call me, and then we can work you in the calendar. So right now, it's usually about 1 week out. I mean, if you call on Thursday, we might be a little pressed to get you in, but it's been working fairly well. And again, when you come to the tribe, there's still the number of mandates, everybody's following. I will probably not meet with you in a small office. We've been fortunate enough, and the staff over there has been, great to work with. We'll grab, I think it's the big conference room downstairs, and, we'll close the doors and we'll do the spacing. We'll take a look at what you got and we'll go from there.
So these services that you provide through this project are free of charge?
Yes.
Okay. And does income matter when it comes to being able to access the legal aid services through this project? Does income matter?
It can for some of the issues that you might be facing, because what we try to do is an intake to really stretch the funding. So if you're eligible for some of the services we might offer under a different program, we would all in likelihood ask you to, do an intake under that program so we can get you, if needed, full representation in a legal matter. Again, though, the advice and counsel is free. And then we do have some hours allocated where I could, irrespective of income, do full service representation. We're cautious with that, because if we're doing that for you, it's going to definitely take time away from a number of other people, because again, we only have really, it's about 15 hours allocated between the 2 days on Thursday and Friday. So obviously there's a pinch there, and we're trying to stretch assets and try to do the best that we can. So if we can get somebody into a different program where there might be an income test, but although there's income tests, we can also ask for waivers sometimes on some of these programs. And so we can definitely proceed that way.
Again, we're talking with attorney at law PJ Herne, and talking about Legal Aid Society of Northeastern New York, and a project that they've teamed up with through the Saint Regis Mohawk Tribe. And again, we want to stress the fact that the legal aid services that we're discussing today and promoting are independent of the tribe's legal department. So we would like to keep that right at the forefront so people are familiar with that. Now, you were a judge for tribal court. How do you like your position here with Legal Aid Society? Is it more challenging? Is it something you've always wanted to try? How's it going for you as your career?
I've enjoyed it, I think, a little bit more than I originally expected. I think when I've had my own office, I still maintain an office here. And I think some of the backup that you wouldn't normally perceive as occurring in legal aid is actually very good, very supportive here. I mean, we have work groups that work on various legal issues that we can sit in on at any time. We have a great support network behind us that's always convenient to use. And when I was on the bench, and especially when we did our healing to wellness court, and you see individuals, that they have unmet civil legal needs, and there should have been hopefully a mechanism to get them assistance. I mean, one of the great programs we do at Legal Aid is what we call our reentry program, and those services are available through our office in LASSNY. And what reentry does is it allows people to seek to get out of some of the civil disabilities they may be facing because they had been incarcerated at one time. And then you might actually be able to get some criminal record sealing. And so if you're, in need of those services, contact our office, and we can definitely give you a hand to do that, because it is a full service that our offices offer down in Albany. And so, sitting on the bench and doing the healing to wellness court and see people work through their issues, some reentry services at the end wouldn't hurt. And so, those are available to us now in person 2 days a week here in Akwesasne. So if you're interested in something like that, contact us. So being able to help community members without having to worry about, how's your electricity going to get paid? How's your legal research going to get paid? That's been, comforting to know. And so being able to help people in that regard has been pretty good.
Now, what about individuals who might be incarcerated right now, but might need legal aid services when they get out? Do you work with those that are incarcerated at all?
A little bit. We can offer the advice and counsel services. The difficult part, being familiar with this, is the communication part of it. Communication with incarcerated individuals is getting easier, but we cannot accept calls from facilities because those are generally collect calls, but they're now getting some email services. So we could, in all likelihood, email them. And these would be, again, we'd be limited to whatever civil legal services they might need on, their eventual, exiting the facility.
Now, what about ages? I know in some of the what you do and what you don't columns, someone has a question with regards to juveniles. What is the age cutoff for, cases or situations that you might encounter with regards to juveniles?
We don't have technically an age cutoff. We do know that if it's a formal JD case in New York or a PINS proceeding, in all likelihood, sorry about that. in all likelihood, they are being provided an attorney already to handle those proceedings. But if they have questions, they are still free to get in touch with us for advice and counsel services. If they have some unmet needs from their assigned counsel, which would be rare, obviously we're still here to, to hear and try to answer questions that they might have.
Will it always be you at the sessions?
Yes, I believe so. I'm the only attorney currently assigned, and actually works out well for me, obviously being a resident here and a member here.
Now, what about adoption proceedings? Can you help couples who are looking to adopt foster children?
We can probably do some advice and counsel services there. That can be a long, sometimes technical process, and we can probably assist with looking at some of that. But again, I think the closer you get to a formal court-approved adoption, at some point, people will be assigned counsel.
Okay. Now, what about landlord issues and tenant issues? I know that we've seen, I guess, things happening over the last couple of years where people have been out of work because of the pandemic, and they put freezes on, depending on what state you're in or whether that's at a federal level. They put, blocks on landlords being able to evict tenants. Have you worked in that area? And is that something that would be covered here?
Yeah, I think obviously the difficulty would be when you look at the comparison between on reserve and off reserve. Off reserve, it's something normal that we do almost daily at legal aid to handle eviction matters and landlord tenant matters. Here in LASSNY, obviously, it's a lot more complicated because I think currently we don't have a landlord tenant law. Off the reserve, sheriffs will do evictions. You'll have court proceedings before there can be an eviction. We do that nearly daily. On territory, it's a lot more difficult because it is almost a private contractual relationship. But I do know the tribe does have some programs to help renters. Obviously, get in touch with the tribal government for that. In New York, if you're off the reserve, we've had the ERAP program that has just opened back up to help people with their rent arrears that might be due. And that can assist you in actually staying in the property longer because it is technically supposed to stay any proceedings that are ongoing.
All right. Now, what about the public benefits? If there are issues with welfare or food stamps, Medicaid, SSI, your Social Security, do you work in that manner here with these sessions in Akwesasne?
Yeah, we most certainly can. I mean, kind of separate the two. Social Security and your public benefits are usually two different tracks, but we do appeals of negative decisions that might have been received when applying for public benefits, and we provide some advice and counsel or review of as to perhaps the reasons why the application was denied. That process for public benefits is separate from Social Security because Social Security has its own mechanisms. We do have a Social Security attorney in our Canton office, like most of our offices do. And, they actually do offer full Social Security representation in order to acquire SSD, which would be the Social Security disability, versus the SSI in your normal retirement from Social Security.
Okay. All right. So again, he's at the Saint Regis Mohawk Tribe, Yunkwak Yokwalolo, on Thursdays and Fridays. And the phone number is 518-728-8277. And again, 518-728-8277. So looking at anything else that you'd like to pass along to the community with regards to information about the Saint Regis Mohawk Tribe and the Legal Aid Society of Northeastern New York project that sees legal aid services offered with office space at the tribe 2 days a week.
Yeah, I think what we wanted to do is take a couple of minutes and tomorrow our low income taxpayer clinic will be hosting a Facebook Live session. I know there's a fair number of people out there who might have questions on the child tax credit as well as the earned income credit, as well as perhaps if you did in fact receive the unemployment boost during the pandemic, they'll be available. I do have answers to some of the questions regarding the unemployment. Yes, that will have to be claimed on income taxes for this year. And you should be getting a form from the Labor Department for that. Again, what we're hearing from the IRS is there is a delay going on. They are still processing some 7 million returns from last year. So if you were to do a paper file return, we're being told that that return might not get to you 9 to 12 months from the time you mail it. So we are trying to tell people that if you possible, try to file electronically. There is some changes that have happened with the child credit. You might want to sit in on our session tomorrow and find out more information. The money is more and it's opened up for more people now, just as the earned income credit. So if you get a chance, try to sit in tomorrow. We're trying to pass all that information along as we can to as many people, especially for the low income, because we're aware that the child credit helped a great number of people that are eligible for our services. And with the opening of the EIC a little bit, that might even be able to help more of the people who would be eligible for our services. So again, if you get a chance, I know Brendan will be posting that on the website. And also if you actually go to our Facebook page, you might be able to find some more information. And again, if you have questions, you can kind of get in touch with us. If they're a little bit more technical and might need a more technical answer, I can try to get in touch with our low income taxpayer clinic attorneys, but we also have their direct number that's available through our Facebook page.
Perfect. Excellent. So that'll be tomorrow. What time?
I believe at noon to 1. And Brandon will be posting the Facebook address site on the tribes, I believe, social media and Facebook pages.
All right. For those of you that are just tuning in, might have missed a portion of today's program, you can check out the Zoom video. They'll be uploading it later today in the tribal members portal. So you'll be able to access this Zoom interview that I'm conducting with PJ Herne, attorney at law, and that'll be uploaded, as we mentioned, into the tribal members portal later today, likely. So anything else, PJ?
I think that's about it. I mean, obviously, if you have questions, I think also if we hear more on programs, or if the community would like to know more information, we would definitely get in touch with CKON as well to do another session like this, especially on my days here. Again, if you need services, get in touch with us, coordinate with the tribal staff that'll be meeting you at the door. There's a temperature check, masks are required. So, and they'll give me a quick call and I'll come down and meet you.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for working so hard on bringing this to Akwesasne, PJ, advocating for the time for you to be able to be here through the Legal Aid Society of Northeastern New York and your position there in trying to do all that you can to help our community to access these legal aid services and helping one another to do that. So thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to talk with you, and we appreciate all your hard work on behalf of the community. So anytime you want to come back on, you give us a holler, and we'll be glad to talk with you. It's always interesting to learn about anything having to do with the law and the services that we are able to access thanks to this project between the tribe and the Legal Aid Society of Northeastern New York. Take care, PJ.
Yeah, on it.